Have you ever felt like buying a home sounds great in theory, but then you start hearing all these rules and requirements and suddenly it feels impossible? Maybe you've heard that you need perfect credit, no debt, a huge income, or that you need to have everything figured out before you can even talk to a realtor. The reality is that many people delay exploring home ownership because of the myths that aren't true. So today I wanted to talk to you about some of the biggest myths about buying a home and what buyers should actually know. Myth number one, your credit score has to be perfect. Let's start with one of the biggest concerns people have, credit. Credit definitely plays a role when you're buying a home, but it's only one piece of the puzzle. Lenders use your credit history to determine what loan programs you may qualify for and what interest rates you might receive, but they're also looking at your income, employment history, savings, and debt. I've talked to plenty of people who assumed their credit wasn't good enough only to find out that they had more options than they expected. A higher credit score can certainly help you qualify for better loan terms, but there are loan programs available for buyers with less than perfect credit. If your credit isn't where you'd like it to be, there are things you can do starting right now. Start making your payments on time, working on paying down high interest debt, building up your savings, and if you're planning to buy soon, avoid taking on any new debt or making any big purchase. More importantly, don't disqualify yourself before talking to a lender. A conversation can help you understand exactly where you stand and what steps, if any, you need to do to get ready. Myth number two, having debt means you can't buy a home. Another myth I hear all the time is that student loans, car payments, or credit card balances automatically mean you can't buy a home. That is simply not true. Many buyers purchase homes while still carrying some form of debt. What matters more is whether that debt is manageable compared to your income. Lenders look at something called your debt to income ratio. In simple terms, they're comparing how much you make each month with how much you're required to pay toward debt each month. If someone is hoping to buy in the next year or two, I usually suggest looking closely at high interest credit card debt first. It can affect both your monthly budget and your credit score. Car loans and other debts with larger monthly payments can also affect how much home you will qualify for. The goal isn't necessarily to become completely debt-free. The goal is to put yourself in a stronger financial position so that when the right time comes along, you're ready to move forward confidently. Myth number three, you need to find your forever home. This is one that puts a lot of pressure on buyers. Many people feel if they're going to buy a home, it needs to be the perfect home that they'll stay in for the next 20 or 30 years. Well, but your first home doesn't have to be your forever home. In fact, many people start with a smaller home that fits their current lifestyle and budget. As life changes, your housing needs may change too. Maybe you will need more space someday. Maybe you will want less space later. Your first home can help you build equity while also teaching you what you truly value in a home, like what you value personally. The point is that your first home doesn't need to check every single box. It just needs to be a good fit for your life right now. Myth number four, renting is always throwing money away. People hear this phrase all the time. And while home ownership can be a great long-term wealth building tool, renting isn't automatically a bad decision. There are situations where renting makes a lot more sense. If you're planning to move soon, going through a major life transition, changing careers, relocating, or simply aren't sure where you want to settle down, renting can provide valuable flexibility. Renting can also make sense if you're using that time to strengthen your finances and save for a future purchase. The key is understanding your personal goals. If you're planning to stay somewhere for several years, it may be worth exploring whether homeownership could help you build equity over time. But the right decision depends on your individual situation, not a one-size-fits-all rule. Myth number five, you need a high income to buy a home. Many people think they need to be making six figures before buying a home can become realistic. Income definitely matters, but it isn't only one factor that lenders are considering. They're also looking at your debt to income ratio, credit history, employment history, savings, and income stability. Someone with a high income and a large amount of debt may qualify differently than someone with more modest income and fewer monthly obligations. If you're not sure whether your income is enough, the best first step is talking with a lender. You don't need to commit to anything. You can simply learn what options are available and what steps might help you reach your goals. Myth number six, you need to figure out everything before talking to a realtor. This might be the myth I wish people would stop believing the most. Many buyers think they need to know exactly how much they can afford, exactly where they want to live, exactly what type of home they want, and exactly when they're going to buy before talking with an agent. But helping people answer those questions is a big part of a realtor's job. You don't need a perfect plan before reaching out. In fact, it often makes the most sense to connect with a realtor near the beginning of the process. A realtor can explain the steps, answer questions, help you understand what to expect, and help you build a roadmap based on your goals and timeline. Sometimes buyers discover they're closer to being ready than they thought. Other times they discover a few things that they should work on first. But either way, they're going to leave with a plan instead of uncertainty. Myth number 7, buying a home is too complicated. Buying a home can seem overwhelming, especially if you've never done it before. You're hearing terms like pre-approval inspections, appraisals, underwriting, closing costs, title work, and more. If you feel like it's learning a new language, you're not alone. But the good news is that you don't have to learn everything at once. The process is made up of smaller steps. And a good team, including your realtor, lender, and title company, and others, can help guide you through each stage as it comes. Once people understand the roadmap and know what comes next, the process usually feels much less intimidating. Final thoughts. If there's one myth I wish people would stop believing, it's the idea that you need to be completely ready before you talk to a lender or a realtor. You don't need to have all of the answers. You don't need a perfect credit score. You don't need to be debt-free. And you don't need to know exactly how everything will work out. Sometimes the most important first step is simply having a conversation and learning what your options are. Buying a home is a journey, and you don't have to navigate it alone. If you have questions about buying a home, I'd be happy to help you understand the process and explore what options might make sense for your situation.